I order the Peaky Blinders.
Anyway, we're Peaky Blinders. We're not scared of coppers.
He's right.
If they come for us, we'll cut them a smile each.
My word to who? To a Peaky Blinder?
Arthur Shelby of the Peaky Blinders.
Thomas, you're a bookmaker, a robber, a fighting man. You're not a fool.
Did you know they were going to do it before they did it? Because that's someone who's in charge, isn't it? And who knows before it happens.
I know what I know. If you don't know, then you don't fucking know, do you?
Welcome to the Peaky Blinders Podcast. That's right, it's the PBP, Peaky Blinders Podcast. We're from the Joe Blow Football Show. I'm your boy, Jamie G, Esquire the Fifth, MD, Master of Surgical Arts. Neither an attorney or a doctor. He's Magnum Mills, and we're here to break down Peaky Blinders, baby. I think Magnum Mills will probably take this thing one episode at a time for seasons 1 through 5, and then we will break down each episode of the upcoming season 6, set to air Sunday, February 27th.
And this is again one that people have been waiting for a while. I believe season 5 came out, way back in 2019, and this kicked off, way back like Obama was president. It was a different universe when this show started, and this was another one. Like, you got me into Ozark before, and shameless plug, we've been podcasting about Ozark, another joint that you can watch on Netflix. Find that just by looking for Ozark Podcast. It's been on my list forever. I really wanted to watch it. I just never kind of gotten around to it. It was just one of those, like, because I'm one of those people, when I start, I'll tend to all right, I'll watch everything. So I try to, once you commit all the way. And it's not like it's, they have 5 seasons, but there's only 6 episodes per season. It's not a huge lift or whatever. So Jamie G suggested it, and he did well with his Ozark suggestion. So I said, all right, I'll let it ride a little bit here. So I've been going through, I'm almost through season 2 now. Jamie G has watched them all, but the plan here really is, before we kick off season 6 here, I'm going to be caught up. We're going to do a little bit of just kind of our overall thoughts on all the episodes that exist podcast, then do a little preview prediction joint. And then we're going to do weekly episodes breaking down season 6 of Peaky Blinders. They will be coming out on Sundays, and we should have the podcast out to you on Wednesdays. And you can find it just simply by searching for PBP, Peaky Blinders Podcast, on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Jamie G, tell us, how did you get into Peaky Blinders in the first place?
Yeah, man, I was in a spot probably 3 years ago-ish where I needed a show. And I had just kind of wrapped up, I think I just was on the tail end of Americans. And I was like, oh man, this is amazing. And I needed something. And people started talking about Peaky. Oh, you got to watch Peaky. And I started it. And this is the God's honest truth, people. This is how you know we're real on the Peaky Blinders podcast. I watched the first episode and I couldn't get into it. It was too dark, visually. And I had a hard time understanding them. The accent is so thick, yada, yada, yada. And about a year and a half went by. And then I was laying in bed one night and I just was like, you know what, dude, I didn't give this thing enough of a chance. And another person who I respect to the highest degree was like, dude, please give it another chance. I was like, okay. I gave it another chance. And let me tell you, man, it really grew on me the second time around. Now, I will admit, you guys can make fun of me, Jamie G, yes. I mean, God, who else do you know that's Esquire the Fifth and an MD, Master of Surgical Arts? The answer is no one, but I'll allow you to make fun of me here. I watch it with the subtitles on. Why? Because I want to make sure I'm getting everything. When Arthur's fucking you got to make sure you understand what he's saying, people. So I'm not afraid to admit, I watch it with the subtitles and I'm proud of it, Magnum Mills. I'm proud of my decision with the subtitles.
I literally basically watch everything with subtitles except live television because they're a little bit too delayed. They drive me nuts. But as far as almost all streaming stuff, I am a subtitles by default person. So you're probably yelling at the wrong guy here. I will say that I was a little bit of the opposite. I was pleasantly surprised how fast the first season hooked me. It's got, again, I think it's one of those seasons that when they made it, they weren't quite sure if this was going to be a whole show or just kind of a one-off. The British film TV industry works a little bit differently that way. If you ever watch something like a Sherlock or a Doctor Who or whatever, and because it had a self-contained plot. At the end, it opened up a little bit, obviously, to make room for what could happen in season 2. But it had, a strong, like, here's the thing that happened and everything's going to kind of function, orbit around this one storyline and still kind of slowly, gradually build its way out. And, in season 2, that's where it's at right now. That's how you do it. You keep expanding the universe until finally the show reaches kind of the peak, and then you start contracting as you bring it back in towards a close. And I'm enjoying it so far. It seems like it's a pretty good show. I really, I don't think it's going to be in that Sopranos tier, but like I said, it feels comparable to something like an Ozark or maybe even a Boardwalk Empire, to go with a more of a period piece kind of thing. Again, I don't think the accents are a huge problem for me. They may be a little bit dark, but they shoot a lot of natural lighting and stuff. It's meant to look a little older. I haven't really had a problem with the accents. And I will say that, dude, Sam Neill, you didn't tell me like Sam Neill was in this. Like that's, you kind of understand. I'm like, oh, he must be in one episode. I'm like, he's in the whole first season. Like, you could have had me at Sam Neill, man. I feel like you just buried the lead a little bit. Sold it short in terms of Sam Neill, for sure. That scares me that he's not on the show for that long after that, but whatever, I'll take it. We'll take what we can get. Look, the thing about this one was when I gave it that second look, man, it was like, oh, dude, why haven't I been watching this? And you're right. The thing I like about this show too, Magnum Mills, is you're looking at like full 1 hour episodes, which is cool. So, but you're committing for the full hour, but there's only 5 of them per season. So you can kind of work your way through this a little bit. And I think it's kind of an underrated binge for a lot of folks out there. A lot of people feel comfortable binging on the 22-minute, joints where they can just blow through one after that. But I think for an hour-long piece, this is binge worthy, particularly how it's set up and how quickly it moves, 5 episodes per season here. Yeah, I mean, this is, or maybe 6. Six. It's 6 it's pretty similar to something like you see a lot of the British limited stuff. Like I think recently, like Bodyguard was 6. Like generally Sherlock was 3. I think Doctor Who is 10 to 12. So this is kind of in the middle of that. But like you said, it's generally, you're talking about 50, roughly about 50 minutes of screen runtime, taking out the credits, and you don't look at your watch a lot. And it's a pretty bingeable show. Like there's definitely a lot of stuff going on, but it's not so heavy that sometimes you just have to stop and like absorb. Like Breaking Bad is like a show like that. Like it's so incredible, all the stuff that's happening. But sometimes you just need to like just turn off the TV and just like marinate on that shit for a minute. And you can't quite, go on to the next episode. In here, it's, I'm not saying that it's a detriment that it's not super deep. There are a lot of interesting character work and family dynamics, talk about PTSD, early, drug use, and just the different class and, the different culture between Ireland and England back in the day. A lot of interesting stuff going on. So I'm not saying that there's not a layer of subtext or anything like that, but it's presented in such a way that it's not, it's still kind of fun. Despite some dark stuff happening, they're having a little bit of fun with it, which I really enjoy, that they're taking themselves seriously, but not too seriously. I think the show has an excellent tone and strikes an excellent balance between that being overly violent at sometimes and also still recognize that these are people who want to, sometimes just say, fuck it, we're gonna go have a drink and have a good time. Maybe we're gonna fight when we're at the pub, but we'll be a good time. And there's some humor in this thing, right, Mills? I mean, some of these characters are funny, like, and again, watching with the subtitles, like you get some of this shit, and I enjoy the humor element to this in what's really a serious thing. I do want to comment just for a minute on how well they did with the time piece of this. You're right on the heels of the Industrial Revolution, coming out of World War I. You're in Birmingham, England. And this is an interesting time frame, and I just think they nail it with everything, every detail, the way it looks. You feel like you're in that time era, and I just think they did a great job with that. Yeah, for a period piece, again, one that's probably not done on a Game of Thrones type budget or something like that, they do a pretty good job with it. Nothing that ever really pulls me out of it. I buy it all. And again, probably something that costs, my guess, is probably like half as much as Boardwalk Empire used to cost back in the day. So, I think they do it to really good effect. And I'm sure they have some pretty good, use of CGI that you're not even noticing on some of these backgrounds and everything. And I think they do it very, very well. Yeah, no, they absolutely do, man. This is going to be fun. We're excited to bring you the Peaky Blinders podcast right here on the Peaky Blinders podcast. BPP. Shout out to all the people who had all of the cool names of Peaky Blinders podcast that we wanted to use. So we like y'all. We're going to be listening to y'all, not to steal shit, but because I like the show. And when you get into kind of the end game here, you always kind of want to talk about your theories and are you kind of happy with how it's turning out or whatever, because you've invested time into it. So if you've invested time into Peaky Blinders, we appreciate if you want to spend a little bit more time with us talking about the show, because that's all we're going to do. We're not going to reinvent the wheel. You can't base your college thesis on us. I mean, if you do, please let us know. I just want to read it. I don't really care. And maybe send your professor a get well soon card, something like that. But for the most part, just thanks for watching. We're just talking about it, having a good time. If you ever want to let us know, again, we'll be on social media at Peaky Podcast. That's the Twitter, the Instagram, all the good stuff there. And you can send us an email at peakyblinderspodcast@gmail.com. You know, all that good stuff. Jamie G, anything else? Any other thoughts about, just Peaky Blinders in general, or anything else you want to cover on the weekly podcast?
Honestly, Magnum Mills, I'm caught up to date. I've been waiting on what in my opinion was an outstanding climatic end to season 5. I can't wait for you to get there. I can't wait to talk about it right here on the Peaky Blinders podcast. But I will just say, I have grown this show. I have grown so attached to some of these characters, and I absolutely love them. And I just don't know how anyone. It's kind of like, everyone kind of wanted just at least just for one day be Tony Soprano. I think everyone, when you get to the end of this, at least just for one day be Tommy Shelby. I mean, he's Tommy fucking Shelby for a reason.
And Cillian Murphy's great. You can always see, he's a dude who does great face and eye acting. Like, you can always see the wheels turning, even if he's keeping his face fairly expressionless or whatever. Just a phenomenal actor, and one of the reasons that Christopher Nolan chose him to be the primary villain when he rebooted Batman after the mess that had fallen into. So great. Again, you bring in Tom Hardy, you got Sam Neill, a bunch of great character actors. Tommy Flanagan shows up in season 1 again, underselling this a little bit. So very good stuff overall. Very excited to watch it and just kind of break it down week to week and live out this final season with y'all out there on the the World Wide Webs and whatnot.
Yeah, all y'all out there. We're pretty easy to find. Peaky Blinders Podcast, Magnum Mills. I'm Jamie G. We are from the Joe Blow Football Show. Make sure you go to Magnum Mills will tell you where to go, but we got a bunch of awesome free content. FREE, free content, loaded with all sorts of shit for whatever you're into. Stuff like this, a lot of football stuff. Did we say we could make you money? Because we can. Check out Seize the Gap Fantasy Football, 9 guys in a row. We've got them all. We do it all. We do them all. Magnum Mills, where can they find it all? For free. I'm going to say all one more time. All
night long, all night long. All right, yeah. Cue it up. Good stuff. Joe Blow Football Show is at joeblowfootballshow.com, on social media at Joe Blow Show. Like Jamie G said, we're at PBP. Peaky Blinders Podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast streaming platform by searching for Peaky Blinders Podcast. And we're on social media at Peaky Podcast. We've also been covering Ozark. Find that at Ozark Podcast. And It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Find that in our podcast by searching for Night Pod Cometh. Same thing on the social medias. And like Jamie G said, make a little money with fantasy football. Seize the Gap Fantasy Football. Find us on all the social stuff at Seize the Gap FF and on your favorite podcast platform by searching for Seize the Gap Fantasy. Like he said, I'm Magnum Mills. He's Jamie G. They're the Shelbys. They're the Peaky Blinders. And we're just curious to see how this whole thing turns out. I haven't seen enough episodes that have a cool tagline yet, so we're working on that.
And I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm going to say nothing.
Yep. I can't even, I don't even want to look for actors because I don't want to know how many episodes they've been in. So yeah, thank you very much. And again, no spoilers here. When there are spoilers, we will let you know up front. Thanks again for watching and listening.
Peace. This has been PBP, a Peaky Blinders podcast presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. We are not in any way affiliated with Peaky Blinders, BBC Studios, or Netflix. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Any views or opinions expressed here are personal and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations who may or may not be associated with The Joe Blow Football Show. If you have any questions, please contact us at Peaky Blinders Podcast at gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. By order of the Peaky fucking Blinders.